It was a sweet sound echoing through Bryant-Denny Stadium on Saturday night. The refrains of Rammer Jammer following a classic Iron Bowl victory. We'll talk about that in the SEC Championship game right now on Tider Insider TV.
Go inside the Crimson Tide. Tider Insider TV with Rodney Orr and Gary Harris.
There were big plays, many of them Saturday night, but this interception by Nick Perry turned the tide and gave Alabama the momentum for good. Fitting on senior night that the fifth-year senior from Prattville made the play to ultimately help the Tide come away with a wild win over the Auburn Tigers. And with that, we say good evening, everybody, and welcome into Tider Insider TV, presented each and every week by Buffalo Rock alongside the birthday boy, Rodney Orr. I'm Gary Harris, and I guess because it's your birthday, you think you can just stroll in here after the show started.
I just got here.
Nobody would have ever known, but I thought I'd blow your cover. Yeah. Happy birthday.
Hey, appreciate it.
I know you had reason to celebrate Saturday night with the Iron Bowl every year falling so close to your birthday. I mean, it's either a real happy one or a disappointing one, huh?
A lot different than last year.
That's right, that's right. As always, our program presented by Buffalo Rock. Tonight we're back to the cans. Ice cold, Pepsi next, and the sound effect. That is good. Remember to pick up great Pepsi products the next time you're at your local grocery store. All right, Rodney, a win over Auburn, always sweet. But something about Saturday night's game that really made it feel even more special. I don't know if it's because of the kick six or it's because of how in nature this game was the way Auburn wanted it to be. I guarantee you, if you'd have told most people that this was going to be the highest scoring Iron Bowl in history, they would have told you that Auburn would probably come out on top. But to some degree, 55-44. And remember, it's 55-36 with 25 seconds to go. Auburn scored a late touchdown, two-point conversion. But to some degree, Nick Saban beat Gus Malzahn at his own game.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about it, Gary. He certainly did. And again, I thought, you know, when the game got 33-21, it kind of looked like Auburn was about to take control. But, you know, Alabama hung in there. Some of the big keys, certainly, in the first half, holding Auburn to 4 field goals when they got down in the red zone. Auburn was in the red zone 8 times, only got 2 touchdowns out of that. So, again, Gus Malzahn's offense in that regard did not produce. On the flip side of that, Alabama's last 5 possessions, they scored touchdowns. So, basically, essentially, they outscored Auburn down the stretch like 34-3. Again, Auburn did have that late touchdown that was, you know, kind of in garbage time, got the 2-point conversion and made the game a little bit closer. But Alabama just dominated the game down the stretch. And here's the thing that really stood out to me. Auburn has 90 offensive plays. Alabama has 61. That's 29 more offensive plays. But at the end of the game, when you get down in the fourth quarter, it looked like the Auburn defense was the side that was gassed.
Yeah, you know, I thought you had the stat of the day. Until that final touchdown, Auburn had been 1 of 7 in the red zone on scoring touchdowns. Alabama on the night, a perfect 5 of 5. Of course, 3 of the Tide's touchdowns came outside the red zone, but that's your ball game.
Yep.
You know, in the past, so many times, Alabama has been the team settling for field goals and sometimes missing field goals. But on Saturday night, it was role reversal. So even though Auburn piled up offensive statistics, Nick Marshall was unbelievable. The kid can play. The receivers, Coates and Williams, as good as advertised. But it was the Alabama offense that, after being down 33-21, as you said, dominated the game, and the Tide gets the win. So what does it mean? Well, it means Alabama's the SEC West champions. It means they get a little payback from last year's kick six, and they move on to the SEC championship game. After the game on Saturday night, Nick Saban talked about resiliency.
I just told the players at halftime, you know, we have 30 minutes. You know, a lot of you guys have a lot of goals and aspirations. This is kind of a gut check as to what kind of heart you have, what kind of character you have, what kind of competitor you are as to how you go out and play the second half of this game. I believe in you. I think we can win. I think we will win if everybody makes a commitment to doing their best in the second half. And, you know, I was really pleased with the way the players responded.
And here are some of the numbers, huge stats in this one from a lot of offensive players. Blake Sims bounced back from throwing 3 interceptions, tossed 4 touchdowns, and really after that third pick, Blake Sims was almost flawless. Amari Cooper, I mean, what can you say? I mean, he cemented, in my opinion, a trip to New York for the Heisman Trophy presentation, and I think he should finish in the top 3. Heck, I'm not so sure he shouldn't win it, but I don't think he will. T.J. Yeldon proves again when he's close to being healthy, Rodney, he's as good a running back as you're going to find. A big night. And on defense, Trey DePriest, and we mentioned Nick Perry's interception. but he also had a big night in terms of racking up tackles. Of course, when you play 90 snaps, you get a lot of tackle opportunities. And we talk so much about the offenses. It's become commonplace at Auburn when they lose the Iron Bowl, somebody's getting fired. And Gus, or I should say Ellis Johnson is out, which means some other defensive coaches are going to be gone as well. But from an Alabama standpoint, I know, and you know, Nick Saban doesn't like giving up 630 yards and 44 points. But I'll say this. We talked about the red zone. Alabama's defense made plays when it had to. As I said, it was kind of role reversal. Auburn has a history of giving up a lot of yards, but not necessarily a ton of points. They've been good in the red zone. But on Saturday night, Alabama had the interception by Perry. They had the crucial fourth down stop in midway through the fourth quarter when it was still a two-score game.
Also, by the way.
And, didn't have a good night statistically, but made plays when they had to make them.
Well, I think in the second half, after they made some adjustments, they held Auburn to 46 yards rushing, I think it was in the second half. I thought that was really good. Obviously, they gave up some big pass plays, but, again, when you're playing an offense as explosive as Auburn, they were hitting on all cylinders. They were healthy. Duke Williams was back, and I think that certainly showed up significantly on Saturday night. Alabama, again, you talk about T.J. Yeldon, they got the running game going, and then Blake Sims, after those 3 picks, he comes back, goes 10 of 12 down the stretch for 180 and 3 touchdowns. He also had that rushing touchdown. He had a nice 2-point conversion throw to DeAndrew White. Blake got hot. I mean, here's a guy that could have folded, but he regathered himself, made some throws down the field, and I thought Alabama made some really good play calls, Gary. They were jumping. Auburn was jumping those short routes, and they decided to throw the ball over the top, and, Blake found Amari, and, those were the big plays.
And, in fairness to Alabama's defense, and you and I talked about this, and you know what I think of Nick Marshall. I still think he's the most effective quarterback in the Southeastern Conference. Not saying he's the best, but he was on Saturday night. What they can do with the running game, you got to try to take something away. So you play a lot of man coverage so you don't get gashed on the inside running plays. And, they did give up some big plays, but Marshall was on target. And those 2 receivers, I think Amari Cooper is the best receiver in the country. I'm not so sure that Williams and Coates aren't 2 and 3. They're going to make some plays. You got to give them some credit. And then you got add in Artis Payne at the running back position. Good offensive line. That's a dynamic offensive football
There's
team.
no question about it. Quan Bray made a great catch. Of course, I think it was technically should have been an interception. It wasn't overturned, but still it was a fantastic play by Bray as well. I thought when you look at Coach and you look at Duke Williams, they made some big-time plays.
Yeah.
Certainly now a couple of those, obviously they got behind the secondary, but, Duke Williams was really tough on third down. He used his body, in between 2 guys to really fend them off and, make some plays. And, you're right, Gary. Again, they were hitting on all cylinders. And, I think after they lost the Texas A&M game earlier in the year, they've started focusing on Alabama right then. They have been preparing for Alabama for almost a month.
So I don't really understand why some Alabama fans, I should say, are complaining about the Auburn game. You're up 19 with 3 minutes to go. You wind up winning by double digits against a team that had an offensive explosion, as we talked about, really outgunned them, and that is a tribute to the Tide. All right, several standout players in the game for Alabama: Amari Cooper, Blake Sims, T.J. Yeldon. The list goes on and on. Here is Tide reaction following the Iron Bowl.
It's always satisfying, but at this moment, we got to move on. In a league like this, you really can't focus on just one game, but it's definitely a satisfying victory.
It's very big for us. We're just happy that we can overcome what happened last year and come to this year and get a W. And pretty much for the fans, and hopefully they come down to Atlanta and watch us play down there.
We've already mentioned it, but here are the numbers from the high-scoring Iron Bowl of all time. You see them right there: most total yards, most points. And look at this: Alabama's 18th 11-win season. Nick Saban has 6 of them. In 8 years here, he's won 11 games 6 times. I tell you what, it's a golden era of Alabama football to go along with some other golden eras from the past. Much more to come on TITV, including a look back at one of the classic moments in Alabama's long SEC championship game history. Plus, when we return, we'll start breaking down the Missouri Tigers. Gary Pinkel's group, you know what? Give them credit. A lot of people said they didn't deserve to be in the SEC. They're going to the championship game for the 2nd straight year. Then we've been in the league 3 years. So we'll break them down, and of course, later on, we'll be getting your phone calls, emails, and tweets. There's the information on the screen on how you can get in touch with us. We'll be right back with the only show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide, Tider Insider TV, presented by Buffalo Rock. It was the first major college football conference championship game in history, and the Tide had to sweat it out. Unbeaten Alabama against 3-loss Florida, but when Antonio Langham jumped the coverage on a Shane Matthews pass with 3 minutes to go in the game and took it to the house, Alabama won 28-21 and went on to save the SEC. by winning the national championship against Miami. And, of course, conference championship games have become the norm. Fast forward 24 years, and we're about to embark on a college football playoff for the first time. Now, here are the new rankings. And notice this, Rodney. Florida State, despite being unbeaten, drops to number 4, meaning if it finishes like this, pardon me, Alabama would play Florida State in New Orleans, Ohio State and Baylor, the first 2 out. Oregon and TCU are set up to play out in Pasadena if it finishes like this. And Rodney, the Tide can seal up that top spot with a win in the SEC championship game on Saturday against the Missouri Tigers. Let's talk about that matchup with a team that, despite being 10-2 and 7-1 in the SEC, still largely disrespected.
Yeah, they are, but they're a really good team. I mean, you know, when you look at them, Gary, you mentioned they're going to the SEC championship game for the 2nd year in a row. They had to really, you know, they had a tough stretch after they lost to Georgia 34-0, got beat at home 34-0. They won 6 straight games, so they're on a 6-game winning streak. And a lot of people didn't think that they were going to be able to finish out strong. They did, and you know, a lot of that's attributed to the quarterback right there. You see Matty Mock has a really good receiver, Bud Sasser, and a really pretty strong running game with Russell Hansborough and Marcus Murphy. And, you know, their defense is really aggressive, Gary. They have 2 outstanding defensive ends, Marcus Golden, Shane Ray. Those guys are 2 of the, you know, best pass rushers in the country. So Alabama, offensively, the tackles, whether it's Cam Robinson and Austin Shepard, or if Grant Hill plays, or whoever it is at the offensive tackle spot, certainly going to have their hands full.
All right, let's hear now from the Tide on playing against Mizzou.
Best thing of all, overall, you get a chance to play for a ring. I mean, we get a ring out of it, and that was my best experience of it, because I mean, it's a great game.
Great opportunity for our players. It's a great competitive venue. One of the most exciting games that I've had an opportunity to compete in and play in through the years, the few times that we've been able to get there, and so this is a special opportunity.
Here are some numbers on Alabama in SEC championship games. It'll be the Tide's 9th appearance, just one behind Florida for the most all time. The Gators have 10. Alabama just a 4-4 record in the title game. The last one, of course, 2012 was a good one. Alabama beat Georgia and went on to win the national championship. Nick Saban been really successful. His only loss at Alabama and LSU came in 2008 when the Tide, undefeated, lost a tough one to one-loss Florida and Tim Tebow. And so, you know, Alabama gets a crack at its 24th SEC title on Saturday. Stay tuned. Tider Insider TV will continue coming up with much more. Another national honor for Amari Cooper. We'll discuss that, and we'll be welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets. The information on your screen, 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. Email us if you would like, or reach out to us on Twitter using the hashtag Tider Insider TV. We're back after this. No surprise here, Amari Cooper honored as the Walter Camp National Offensive Player of the Week after his 13-catch, 224-yard, 3-touchdown performance in the Iron Bowl. It was Coop's second 200-plus yard receiving game. That's only been done 4 times in school history. Amari has 2 of them. He is pretty good. All right, Rodney, let's head to the Med Center hotline. They're lined up for us. First up, Harold in Anniston. Hey, Harold, what's going on, man?
Hey, how you doing, guys? Happy birthday.
Appreciate it, Harold.
Yeah, man, I just want to say I'll take a win any kind of way I can get it against Auburn. My question is, guys, who do y'all see stepping up out back there in that secondary, man, as far as man-to-man go? Who y'all look at as being the guy to step up?
Well, Harold, it's a good question, and as we said earlier, again, you got to give Auburn a lot of credit. I mean, you know, you expect as a fan, when the ball's in the air, you're got to make every play. Sometimes the other guy's going to make plays. But, you know, the good news is, Rodney, they've got, first of all, Cyrus Jones is playing very well. Eddie Jackson struggled. They went to Tony Brown. They came in with Bradley Sylvie, their third quarterback, and he actually played really well in the game.
I thought he played extremely well, and I think when you look back at Bradley Sylvie in that first game, when he started against West Virginia, he was in position to make plays, Harold. He didn't get his head turned around, but, you know, a lot of people didn't talk about Kevin White being maybe the second best wide receiver in the country that he was defending, but he made some phenomenal catches in that game. Bradley Sylvie really didn't play that poorly in that game, and he really stepped up, played really well Saturday night when he got his opportunity.
And you know what? I think they're going to play better on Saturday. That's Nick Saban for you. They're going to make some corrections. I think they'll do a better job. But they got a lot of guys to choose from. Harold, that's the good news. All right, let's go to Brilliant and talk to Jason. Hey, Jason, what's going on?
Hey, roll tide, guys.
Yes, sir.
I got 3 quick questions about Lane Kiffin.
Okay.
First one, do you think that may be the best hire that Saban has had at Alabama? do you think we still have the same record if Kiffin wasn't there? And do you think Kiffin will be there next year? Thanks,
I'm going to go yes, no, yes. Rodney, how do you see it?
I don't even remember the order.
All right, first one is, do you think it's Saban's best hire?
Well, I don't know that it's his best hire. He's hired some good coaches. Jim McElwain was a great hire. I mean, they won 48 games in 4 years.
Yeah, he did.
So, in 2 national championships. Yeah, Kiffin's a good hire. I think he's done a great job. I think he did a phenomenal job with Blake Sims. And, you know, you certainly can't minimize that.
Do you think the record will be as good this year without Kiffin?
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, that's really speculative.
Do you think he'll be here next year?
I do.
Okay. All right, let's go to CW in Hamilton. Hey, CW, what you got for us?
Hey, Gary, Rodney.
Hey, man.
Enjoy your program.
Thank you.
I have a couple of questions. I just wanted to know about Adam Griffith and what took place on the initial kickoff. We never heard an explanation.
Okay.
And about Eddie Jackson, he seems to be having a problem covering receivers.
Yeah, CW. First of all, on the kickoff, it was supposed to be a little bloop onside kick, and Adam Griffith, who's battling some back trouble, just didn't execute it. He made a poor attempt, but they were trying to find a little gap in the coverage there with Auburn's kick return team and drop it in and get it. He kicked it out of bounds. Bad play. Eddie Jackson, Rodney, no excuses, but you know the guy did have knee surgery in the spring, and it's amazing that he came back. I still don't think he's as fast as he once was, and maybe for the first time in a while, he got exploited a little bit against Auburn.
And I tell you what, when you look at, Gary, some of those plays, especially I think it was the one right before half to Coates, he bit. He looked in the backfield. He didn't use eye discipline like Nick Saban always talks about. And he started looking at the quarterback, and once he did, Coates just ran right by him.
But he'll be okay. I mean, he's still got a young player and got a lot of ability, and he's going to continue to get stronger and closer to 100%. Much like T.J. Yeldon, he's just probably hasn't been quite 100% all year. But the kickoff, again, was supposed to be an onside kick. It didn't work. All right, we're going to take a break. More on TI TV, including a check-in on Bama Stars in the NFL as the regular season begins to wind down. And coming up, more of your phone calls, emails, and tweets. So stick around. We'll be right back after this timeout. This past weekend, another good one for former Crimson Tiders in the NFL. What happened in the Georgia Dome was really special. Julio Jones took care of Patrick Peterson. Career day, 10 receptions, 189 yards, and a touchdown. His former teammate, though, Rashad Johnson, one of the bright spots on an otherwise dreary day for the Cardinals. He picked off his 4th interception of the season and took it to the house, 88 yards. Look at him at the tackle. A little bit too late.
Oh, wow.
Julio, though.
Rashad was showing his former Subligent running back skills.
He was. There was Bama on Bama right there. Here's a look at some other notable performances. Mark Ingram and Eddie Lacy continue to play very well as running backs. And Dante Hightower, now the signal caller in New England, 10 tackles and a sack against Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. Tough loss there for New England against Green Bay. Let's go right back to the Med Center hotline. And Plato is with us. Hey, Plato, what's on your mind tonight?
Hey, guys. I'd like to get your thoughts on Baylor engaging a PR firm to help try to get them into the 4-team playoff. Is that something that's been done before that we're not aware of, or is this a new action that Baylor is trying?
For this particular reason, I think it is the first time. But I don't blame a school for doing whatever they think they need to do. If Baylor, Baylor's got one loss, TCU's got one loss. Baylor beat TCU. Yeah, Baylor's not in the top 4, and TCU's at number 3. So I don't have an issue with them doing it. I'll say this: if that committee is going to be swayed by a PR firm, then they're not doing their job. So I don't think it's going to have any impact. Then again, if a school wants to spend money on one, that's their business.
Yeah. Well, you look at TCU and Baylor, and they went head-to-head, and Baylor won the game. And, certainly when you're talking about 2 teams with 1 loss and one team beat the other team, they have a strong argument, in my opinion. Why is TCU number 3 and Baylor's not in the top 4?
Yeah, I just don't think you have to hire a PR firm to try to make your argument for you.
No, I'm just saying, but still, I think Baylor, you got to feel for them.
But if they want to do that, they can do it, and we'll see if it works out for them. Maybe they'll move ahead. All right, let's take our final call tonight from our buddy BT. BT, we got to go quick. What's up? BT.
Happy birthday, Ronnie.
Thank you, BT.
And I want to ask about when Jaden Coker, when he was warming up, I thought he was going to come in.
Well, BT, I mean, had Sims continued to struggle, maybe he would have. We'll never know, because the next possession after the 3rd interception, Sims led Alabama on a scoring drive. They went for it on 4th and 3, tossed it out to Andrew White, and then the next play was a 38-yard touchdown to Amari Cooper. And after that, it was game, set, match. He played great.
Yeah, I think one of the best decisions that was made in that game was to leave Blake Sims in, because once he turned it around, I mean, obviously looking at it in retrospect, but you know, 10 of 12, 180 yards, 3 touchdowns down the stretch, and you also had that touchdown rushing.
He has been a guy that's responded to the moment. We'll wrap up the show next with a look at the Tide's men's basketball team. They're in action tonight. We'll tell you against who, plus our game predictions for the SEC Championship. It's a nice night in Tuscaloosa. Stay with us. We'll be right back. The 4-1 Alabama men's basketball team is back in action tonight at Coleman Coliseum against South Florida at 8 p.m. The Tide coming off a split in the CBA Hall of Fame Classic. They lost to Iowa State but beat Arizona State. They'll play again on Saturday in Cincinnati against Xavier in a tough road game. But so far they have looked pretty good. All right, Rodney, it's time to make our SEC Championship game picks. The Tide, a 14-point favorite against the team from Columbia, Missouri, the Missouri Tigers. How do you see it?
Well, you know, when I look at this game, Gary, you know, Missouri hasn't been that great offensively throughout the year, and I know their defense is really strong. I think if Alabama lines up, runs the football, establishes the run, you know, has some balance throwing the football, they should win the game. You know what, Rod? I think Alabama's enjoyed scoring 55 points. You know, they've had some games this year where they've exploded, and I think Missouri's a fine team. I give them a lot of credit. You're right. You know, 3 games ago when they still had to play Texas A&M, Tennessee, and Arkansas, not many people gave them a chance to get there, but I think Alabama's offense is on a roll. They've put up some good numbers in the Dome before, 45-24. I'll take the Tide. All right, thanks to Buddies for providing dinner. We're headed up there in just a little bit. We'll see our good friend Philip Godden. Folks, thanks to the Locker Room for outfitting us in original elephant wear. And happy birthday to Rodney Orr. How about that? You still look about 52. 54.
See, 2 years younger than your age.
There you go.
Good night, everybody.